An entitled Karen tries to get me fired from my volunteer position after I gave him some advice for a chess game he won at a local tournament. Because right now she's claiming I'm trying to corrupt her son and that I'm gonna ruin his life if I ever help him again. And I am still astonished by this delusional Karen. Here's what happened. So I'm active in a local scholastic chess organization. We set up some formal lessons, provide a place for kids to play or study chess in a more casual setup, and occasionally we organize tournaments. We work through a local school system, so we get a leg up compared to some other similar organizations, as we have venues, some advertising, and a degree of administrative work already done with the schools themselves. I played with this league as a kid myself, and now that I'm an adult, I do some volunteer work for them. Last Sunday we had a tournament. It was a 5-round Swiss system, so this was an event that would last most of the day. I was running the under 12 years old division, which is mostly making sure the kids don't claw each other's eyes out, getting things set up and cleaned up after it's done, and doing the pairings as each round finishes and the next one ends. Because it's an all-day affair, while some parents stay all or most of the time, it's far more common for parents to just drop their kids off in the morning and pick them up at about 4:30 when things finish up. So when things are wrapping up and I was handing out trophies for first, second, and third place, our second place trophy winner had no parent in sight and was just kind of awkwardly holding his bag and his trophy looking around. The parents are supposed to be there by 4:30, but we had about 80 kids in just my division of this tournament, so I knew that the odds that at least one will be late are pretty high. So overall, I wasn't very worried. I asked the kid if he had a phone and he did not. I then asked if he knew how to reach out to one of his parents, and then he gave me his mom's number. When I called her, it went to voicemail, so I left a message reminding her that the tournament was over and she needed to pick up her kid. Now, I can't leave if there are any children still there, so I got to doing some cleanup, which the kid offered to help with. It took maybe 20 minutes to pack everything up, but still there was no sight of this mom. I still can't leave, so I got one of the sets back out and asked if he wanted to play a casual game or do a puzzle or anything. He asked if we could go over some of his tournament games, and we spent the next 20 to 25 minutes analyzing one of his games from the tournament. Now, I'm no grandmaster, but I am still a pretty strong player, so even though he won this game, there were quite a few errors in his play, and I was trying to demonstrate what he could have done better. The kid takes the instruction really well and is actually marking notes on his score sheet. Well, all of a sudden, our analysis is interrupted by a woman shouting at me. She screams out, "You there, what are you doing with my son?" I look up and I realize that we have our entitled mother of this kid. Now, she didn't look like a stereotypical Karen, but she definitely had the tone and mannerisms of one. I got up, congratulated her son in front of her for taking second place in the division, and explained how we were going over one of his games while we were waiting for her to show up. The kid chimes in with how I helped him realize a few mistakes, and you could see the gears turning in the entitled mother's brain. After a second, she bellowed out the following: "You can't do that to a kid. If you mix positive messaging and negative messaging, you will give him a complex. And I know what I'm talking about. I have a degree in psychology." Well, when she said that, that took me off my guard, but I wanted to finish cleaning up and go home. So I just said how it's already past 5 and I wanted to finish cleaning up, and I was sure the kid wanted to go home as well. Surprisingly, the entitled mom didn't want to stay and pick a fight any further, simply getting her kid and then leaving. Now, I figured that was the end of it. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but it was a short one. Well, unfortunately, I was wrong. She sent our organization 21 separate emails demanding that I be fired. Her degree in psychology lets her know how damaging I could be to her precious boy and how I'll rob him of any desire to keep playing by confusing him. It's apparently wrong to tell a child that even though he won a game, and that's great, there are better moves he could have played during the game to improve his play. And she's already gone through this kind of garbage with a coach her husband hired for the kid, and she fired him, and now she wants the league to fire me too. Today's emails have taken a new tone. She must have found out somehow that the kid helped me clean up, because instead of strident demands I be fired on the basis of the profound psychological harm I have done to her kid, now they've claimed that we violated child labor laws, and she'll report us to the state labor board. But she would be happy not to do that if they take responsibility by dismissing me. Now, I know there are nutty parents about chess, but this is the first time I've had prolonged close exposure to one. I'm not worried at all, but I feel bad for the kid. He was nice and respectful, and a part of me wonders where he gets it from, since it certainly isn't from his mother. And no, he hasn't shown any signs of distress from me analyzing a game with him. And with all things considered, I seriously hope I never have to deal with this Karen of a mother ever again. While the entitled mom in that story sounds awful, she didn't even show up to her kid getting second place at a big tournament tournament, but she also is denying him any kind of assistance in getting better, and that in my opinion is like super toxic. Sure, he won the game, but you can always improve. No one's perfect at anything, like why would you not want him to get better? And it's also like crazy to me that she was trying to find every angle possible just to try and get this guy fired for helping out her kid. That's insane to me, and honestly, I hope you never have to deal with her ever again, because that Karen seriously sounds unhinged. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for writing my parents a check for everything they say I owe them, as well as telling them to shut up and get out of my life? Because honestly, they've been obnoxious over the years, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I am 30 years old and fairly successful thus far. My parents are a huge part of my success, and they keep me motivated through school. They gave me a great childhood, they helped me graduate debt-free, my mom's contacts helped me land a well-paying job straight out of university, so I guess you could say I'm a nepo baby. Without them, who knows where I would be? Well, they think this gives them carte blanche to interfere with my life. They constantly critique everything about my life. I cannot think of one aspect of my life that they approve of, and I'm not a bad person or anything like that. It's not like they have a problem with me because I'm an addict or working as a sugar baby. They just think they know better than everything. I had them over to my place for my dad's birthday, and everything was just wrong. My apartment was too small, the stove didn't have precise control of the heating elements, and I scorched the sauce, even though I didn't, and it was perfect. Like literally everything was just wrong, and they kept saying that they wanted better for me, and that after everything they did for me, I should be doing better. But the thing is, I am doing well, and because I live the way that I do, I've actually done fantastic for the last 8 years. So I wrote them a big check and I asked them to hold on to it. I took a picture of them with the check and they asked what it was for. I said that it was everything they wasted on me, since obviously they think that I have failed. So I'm giving them a refund. I told them that I love them and that I appreciated their help, but now that they were paid back, they could keep their opinions to themselves and out of my apartment. Well, when I said that, they got huffy and then they left. I then heard from my brother that they are angry that I did that. But you know what? I don't really care. I just want them to accept that I don't owe it to them to live my life the way that they want. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, I don't totally think that you're the jerk here. I think you made a very clear point to your parents that they need to back off and let you live your life. Like they have no say in the matter at all, and they seriously need to try and mind their own business. And it seems like this is like the only way to give them a wake-up call. Because you said it best. They are literally all over you trying to run your life, and that's like super obnoxious. You are 30 years old, you're fairly successful, you have your ducks in a row more or less, and honestly, I don't blame you for wanting them to back off. And if this was the way to do that, then so be it. So in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk. I think your parents really needed to like get a reality check, and it seems like this was the best way to make that happen. My entitled father wants me to be a housewife and has been constantly trying to force me in that direction just so he can marry me off to one of his coworkers. And honestly, I'm just so glad I'm away from my dad, and I hope I never see him ever again. Here's what happened. So I grew up in a household that was basically a nightmare for both me and my mom. My father had 2 children before me and then 2 children after me, and all these boys he had with my mom. And because I was born right in the middle, I was singled out for a lot of stuff. For example, my dad would often ask each of us what we wanted from the store as a reward for doing well in school. My brothers always got what they wanted, but I hardly got anything. On birthdays, my brothers got to see whatever movies they wanted, but I never got to choose movies that I wanted to see. If I asked for something for Christmas, I more than likely wouldn't get it unless it was from another family member. Whenever one of us started doing bad in school, I would always get the biggest punishments, while my brothers all got off easy. My dad also allowed my brothers to watch him when he cooked so they could learn, but I had to learn how to use things like the grill all on my own. My brothers could wear swim trunks or a Speedo, but I was only allowed to wear a one-piece suit, which I hated because it made going to the bathroom incredibly awkward. My dad would always come and support my brothers whenever they had an event, but whenever I had one, all I would get was constant criticism. The worst one by far is whenever my brothers got birthdays or Christmas money, they'd spend it on candies and toys and clothing, but I wasn't even allowed by my father to touch my money. And I counted from when I was 7 all the way up until I was 15, and I had over $800 in cash that I was denied. Now, this got way worse when I entered middle school. My older brothers by the names of Matt and Kyle, those are not their real names, realized I was being left out, and we talked about it with our little brothers, and now all of us include each other in our celebrations. But now, all of a sudden, my dad was constantly telling my brothers not to interact with me in any way and to pretend like I wasn't even there. And then, all of a sudden, my stuff started going missing. It started small with my pencil sharpener and a note card or something like that. Then it escalated into my merchandise disappearing, and then my movies. And anything I bought with my own money would be gone the very next day. Then I would confront my dad about it, and he didn't deny what he did and said that he threw it all away because I'm growing up to be a housewife that doesn't need any of this stuff. But I told him I didn't want to be a housewife. I want to get a real job. And after I said that, he sent me to my room. As I entered high school, I found that my swimsuits had been thrown out, as well as a few of my cool shirts, with my phone also being thrown out. Now, when I found out that had been thrown out, I tried keeping it cool at school that day, but I just broke down in the middle of class. And when my parents found out about what happened, my dad kicked me out. My older brothers had graduated high school already and were living together to save money, so I went to stay with them, and I was able to get therapy. And eventually, I learned that my stuff wasn't thrown out, and that's when I learned the truth. My dad tried to throw it all out just so he could almost force me into being a housewife so he could marry me off to one of his coworkers. But when I broke down crying in school, he kicked me out so he didn't have to hear me, because the moment I cried, he decided to abandon the plan and cover his tracks. Now, you might be thinking, where on earth is your mom in all of this? She did everything that she could to help me, but her own husband wouldn't even listen to her. I was the middle child, and he was entitled to everything regarding me because I'm his daughter. And if he wants this to be my life, then this is my life. I mean, it's no wonder that me being kicked out led to them getting divorced. And if you're wondering about my little brothers, they want nothing to do with my dad, and they actively refuse to go to the house. And moving in with Matt and Kyle was easily the best decision I've ever made. I learned that all my stuff was saved from the dumpster and put in a storage facility, so I was able to get all my stuff back. And the clothing that didn't fit me, we sold by having a yard sale. Matt and Kyle's backyard also had a pool and a hot tub, and I was finally able to experience them in a bikini. Thanks to help from mom and my little brothers, I was able to confess to my best friend, who is now my girlfriend. When I turned 18, I came out of my shell and I got piercings in all the places I've always wanted to get them. When I graduated, we celebrated at Matt and Kyle's house. The whole family was there except for my dad. Now, where was he anyways? Well, he got arrested for a DUI car crash after being under the influence of the herb, if you know what I mean, and has been in jail for a few years now awaiting trial. I've now moved out of Matt and Kyle's house as they bought a house for me and my girlfriend, which of course had a pool and a hot tub. So to my dad, I hate you for being absolutely awful to me as a parent, and I hate you for being terrible to me because I was born in the middle. Yeah, your dad is absolutely insane, and he got exactly what he deserved. Like, this guy was trying to marry you off to one of his coworkers while also trying to force you to be a housewife. Like, first of all, that's insane, and secondly, it shows why he was such an awful father and husband. Like, I don't blame your mom for getting out of that situation as fast as possible. So honestly, I'm so glad you're away from that man, and thankfully you won't have to deal with him for a long time, because the way he treated you growing up is honestly so unacceptable, because you did not deserve that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for not wanting to share my inheritance with my siblings? Because right now they're threatening to sue me if I don't give them a portion of what I inherited. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm 50 years old, my brother's 45, and my sister is 53. Our parents got separated after 43 years, and no one told me anything. They see me as a person who's not good for living their own life. I called my daughter, who's 24, and she told me of the separation 4 months afterwards. I reached out to my dad, and he was happy to hear from me and told me my siblings have cut him out of their life. I eventually talked dad to moving to where I was so that he could be closer and I could help him out. I talked to dad every single day. We started going for rides together on weekends, riding motorcycles, having bonfires and cookouts, or just an invite for home-cooked meals. It honestly was so great. One day, dad called to cancel our weekend trip and said he was not feeling well. I told him to go to the hospital, but he insisted that he was fine. I tried to call him on the next day, but he didn't answer. I drove out to check on him, and that's when I discovered him on the floor. I went to the hospital every single day. My siblings and mother eventually showed up to visit him, and I stayed in the hall. After the hospital and rehabilitation, he was sent to a skilled facility. Only after 3 days, he started making comments about the staff there, and about a week later, he asked me to get a camera to put in his room. 2 days after I installed the nanny cam, I caught them treating him horribly. So I called the state, the county, and I filed every report that I could. I hired Dad an attorney, and after the attorney was hired, my siblings started to visit about every month. I thought that the family was healing, so we started doing things as a family. Well, Dad got his justice and he received a settlement. With the help of a realtor, I found him a small house and started working on it to bring him home. Dad's health was getting worse and he entered a hospice care. I had the hospice case manager helping develop a home plan, and Dad's health started declining rapidly. Not long afterwards, hospice said it would no longer be advisable to move him. I sat with Dad continually, hiring sitters to stay with him when I had to leave. And when my dad passed away, I went home and I just cried. My dad was my very best friend. I pulled out Dad's will and took it to the county courthouse to probate. I was told there was no need to probate it, that the will was my deed to Dad's house. Dad had filed a POD, which stands for payable on death, and this was at the bank listing me as a sole beneficiary. Our mother kept on telling me it was not right and that I need to give my siblings equal shares of the money. She guilted me to share some of it, and I gave them each about $15,000. But apparently it was not enough, and this was 4 years ago. Fast forward to August 23rd, 2023, and I received a letter from an attorney demanding that I will the house to my siblings, that if I didn't, they would sue me to compensate for the money that I did not give to them. Now, I did not reply to the attorney. I sent him the payable on death form from the bank listing me as the sole beneficiary. I reminded him he had a copy of the will, and I asked him to look it over again, and he would see my siblings had no claim on anything. Now, I have yet to hear any kind of response from their attorney, but I seriously need to know, am I the jerk for not sharing my inheritance with my siblings? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, from the sounds of it, it really doesn't seem like your siblings had any kind of stake in your dad's health. Like your dad said it best, they cut him out of their lives and they want nothing to do with him. And it's only when he was like close to his deathbed that they were even giving him the time of day. And that's really toxic in my opinion. Now, I don't know the details about why the parents got separated or anything like that, so I'm sure there's some kind of nuance there that we definitely don't know as the reader. But with all things considered, it honestly just sounds like the siblings have sour grapes because they didn't get any of the house. So in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk. I think you have a long road ahead of you when it comes to finding resolution to all of this, but hopefully with all things considered, it works out in your favor. My girlfriend wants me to stop contacting my ex-girlfriend, as she claims that I'm still attached to her, even though I just consider us friends. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I started dating my current girlfriend in 2023, and at first she was cool with me being friends with my ex, but I will say my ex did some messed up stuff to us, like starting arguments and trying to include my girlfriend in it, and even the way that she left our house. She didn't tell me, and I happened to come back home one day after spending nights at my girlfriend's house, and all her stuff was packed up, while also taking some of my stuff in the process. Well, that was all months ago, and honestly, I can't hold grudges. Honestly, it's kind of the opposite. I really suck at letting people go. And this isn't the first fight that we've had about letting someone go. I actually had to let go of a different ex turned friend who was honestly a better person than this one. I know that in a lot of relationships, people hate their partners talking about their exes, but I really can't be friends with them with little to no drama, and I just want her to trust me on that. How can she tell me that she trusts me that I won't go back to her, but then tell me that she really does not want me talking to her at all? And also, how do I tell her that it's not the fact that I'm dying on the hill of talking to my ex, but it's about the freedom of choosing what I do? I hate the ultimatum of you have to do this or I'm gonna leave, when in reality, you should just trust me to be a good person. I mean, I don't know, am I in the wrong here? Should I just cut it off entirely? We don't have kids or anything like that, but I feel like it doesn't hurt to be friendly in some kind of way. Oh, and I did send my ex a song the other day that reminded me of her, but my girlfriend blew up about how that means I'm still super attached, but that's just who I am. I would do that for literally anybody. So honestly, I feel really stuck, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, I think your girlfriend is 100% correct. It really seems like you're still attached to your ex-girlfriend, and you clearly have not let go of that person and moved on. Like, you do know you're in another relationship, right? You do realize you have a girlfriend right now, and that she is way more important than your ex-girlfriend who left in the middle of the night? Like, from the sounds of it, your ex-girlfriend probably doesn't feel the same way about you as you do about her. Like, she straight up just ditched out of your life, and you're trying to be like, oh, but we could still be friends. It's like, no, you can't. She clearly doesn't like you. This isn't some situation where she was a friend in the first place. She was your girlfriend. And for you to still be in contact with her, in my opinion, if I was in your girlfriend's shoes, that would be like a clear indication that no, you have not moved on. Like, why on earth would you be sending songs to your ex-girlfriend when what you should be doing is sending songs to your girlfriend? Like, why would you waste your time making your your ex-girlfriend feels special when your current girlfriend feels like garbage because you're not paying attention to her. And it really seems like you're dancing around the issue. You're trying to be like, ooh, I would do this for anybody. But that's the thing, you're not doing this for anybody. You're doing this for your ex-girlfriend. Like, you're paying attention to her for some reason, and that is absolutely a sign that you have not let go of her. And I think the word friendship is a really bad terminology in this case. I think if anything, you could probably be amicable in some kind of way, but going out of your way to like reach out to her and like send messages to her and stuff like that, that is really weird in my opinion, and I think you are absolutely in the wrong for pursuing it in this way. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.